you don't mind, just for the fun of it here, Matt, I'm going to make you co-host. You can
Sure.
kind of watch people come in. So we'll get started. Thanks very much for being on. Denny Grimes here, and this is a small group. And the people who want to get better are here. This is Mastery. We don't have to be on such a rush, and we have a lot more freedom and free time to dig a little bit deeper. We call it Mastery, and we're going to work from that on a higher, deeper level and attempt to give you some understanding. Today is January 24th already, and this year's almost already gone. No, I'm just kidding. For those people that have subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure if you subscribe that you send me an email at coachdennygrimes@gmail, coachdennygrimes@gmail. I've got a bunch of free slides I'm going to send you. Some of the ones I repetitively use here, the bull ride conversations, etc. So if you have not signed up or subscribed, I should say, to my YouTube channel, do that and then send me an email, coachdennygrimes@gmail. I'll send you the free stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of different things. One of my favorite topics, you guys, in a conversation, I got Matt here from Sarasota, and he's excellent on the phone, excellent at the table, great question asker. I am an analogy machine. I find that some people can tell jokes, some people can tell stories, some people have great memorization of facts and figures. I have analogies. And every week I'd like to give you some. And so you start to develop a repertoire. If you don't have that area, that creativeness to use the analogy or come up with an analogy. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do in the next week or so. We'll advertise it a little bit, and we'll have a little bit of a game. Maybe Matt and I could be the agent and try to stump us. Give us whatever job or profession you're in, and we'll see if we can come up with an analogy that it ties to basically that job. And you into that, Matt?
Yeah, I think that's great because the one thing that I like to say to all the people that come to our role play or your role play in the mastermind is, in theory, we always have something to say, but the reality is if they don't know the game, that, for lack of a better term, that we're playing. So it is possible that, we just get stumped. So I love the idea of, sharpening the axe and giving people the analogies to use, because some people can't, think of them off the top of their head. So they got to practice it. So 100%.
Good. Well, we'll work on that. I'll have one every week, and we'll dig deep into it. I'll even maybe have a picture that you can use, and these things you can practice. So one more thing I want to talk about when it comes to something I talked about, I think maybe today on Recon, which is our daily role play. Most of you guys are knowing that. And if you don't know, you can put it in the chat. We'll give you the information. Open houses. I'm going to be a real stickler, Matt, on things that are true and calling BS and things that aren't true. Now, what do you think of the statement out there, guys, that there's never been a house sold because of an open house? What would you give that a true or false?
Well, Denny, 80% of the homes that I sold, about 80% of them sold just like a regular, not at the open house. So maybe only 10 to 15%, I would say, I got a buyer from open house.
But did you?
Okay.
But that doesn't. Forgive me, Tanner. I don't think that answers the question. 15% of the buyers that you got didn't buy that house, right?
No, out of 10 listings that I've sold, maybe I think only 2 of them actually I got offers from the open house that end up selling to that buyer from the open house.
Right. Okay. Got it. So I can speak to this because I've studied this ad nauseum. Now, I don't know if the statistics are they're still valid. They're probably worse, or they're probably not as much in favor of open houses, even more now. It used to be that you only had a 3% chance to sell your home at an open house. And there was a couple articles that were done on it. And I used to give those to clients because they were realtors that wrote the articles, and they would even say the open house is good for one person, the agent hosting it.
So thank you, Matt. I had somebody today, an agent called me today, kind of concerned about the market. And there's a lot of agents. And this young lady is a very good agent. She's been in the market in real estate 6 years. Well, I can tell you that if you've been in it 6 years, you've not seen a market correction like we're seeing here in Florida. And we're seeing inventory grow, homes sit on the market, etc. A couple of things I'm going to talk about. My daughter did an open house. She's just typically a listing agent. She did an open house, and I thought, what? She hadn't done an open house since Obama was president, right? And so I started to think about it. And the lady I was talking about today said, well, I asked her the question, and she said, well, I've been taught that 1% of the buyers come from an open house. Well, okay, one could take it that way, but I'm going to make a statement, and you're going to initially want to push back until you understand what I'm saying. No house is sold because of the open house. 0 houses have sold because of the open house. Now, I can put an asterisk by that, like, okay, maybe 1 out of 1,000. So practically 0 have sold because of the open house. So you might want to push back on that, but I want you to understand the physics of real estate, particularly if you're in an inventory increasing market like we're seeing in Florida and maybe other parts of the country. I went on with the conversation, and this is some of the questions I'll ask you guys. She said, we have Matt's in Sarasota and I'm in Fort Myers. We have a county in between. It's called Charlotte County. And she said Charlotte County has turned into more of a buyer's market. And I said, well, how do you know? I mean, tell me why you know that. They said, well, I've read that. Okay, be careful reading what you read, right? And then she said, well, I got some well-priced listings up there and they're not selling. I said, okay, so we're going to have to exercise some demons out of you. So if you're taking notes, I want you to understand that. Write this down. There is no such thing as a well-priced listing not selling. So if you have a listing out there and you believe it's priced right and it's not selling, that seller, if that was a patient, they've hired the wrong doctor. You are giving them bad advice. And the reason I can say that an open house does not sell houses, and she said 1% of the homes sell an open house. I said, I got a better one for you. 100% of the buyers, qualified buyers that walk into an open house that's overpriced, don't buy it. So you have to be as convinced as red blood running through your blood veins that if a house does not sell, it's because of positioning. And the open house, although people can walk in, see it, like it, buy it, they're not buying it because of the open house. They're buying it because of the positioning. Now, it might have been convenient. That may not have been the buyer if they were driving by on the way to, Dunkin' Donuts to get a coffee. They stopped in and saw your home, fell in love. Understand this, and I'll open up for discussion. If a buyer likes your home, there's a very high probability. I mean, a buyer wants to buy your home, not likes, but is willing to buy it. There's a very high probability there's another one, 2 or 3 or 4 or 10. Okay. Now, open houses don't sell houses. And we talked about this at Recon, don't count open house traffic as a showing, and don't sell an open house to the seller that's some sort of magic pill, because guess where you'll be every weekend? And they hope they have cable so you can watch the playoffs. So I'm going to back off a little bit. This is mastery. I want you to understand why real estate works, because if you've got listings out there and they're not selling, it has to be one reason only. It's not marketing, not location, not condition. It's positioning. Comments, anyone? Open it up.
I'll go really quick. Everybody that's in here that was in real estate when COVID happened, you had to be in the market for 7 years right now. So you've had to be licensed for 7 years, at least where Denny and I are, to have experienced some sort of market correction, because the market was correcting in 2018. But it didn't get a full correction because the Fed lowered rates in 2018 to stimulate the economy. So if you were in the COVID market, you might be deluded into thinking that open houses sold real estate, because what happened, you do one open house in the COVID market when there's 15 days of inventory, and you'd have 75,000 people in the open house, and 63,000 of them would have wrote an offer. But the open house, to Denny's point, didn't sell that house. It was the price and the fact that there was no inventory. So it only affirms, like, any way you look at this lens, the open house doesn't sell the house. It didn't back then. It doesn't now. It's the positioning in the market that sells the home. They're going to see it one way or the other.
Right. So you guys buying that? I mean, if you want to be rock solid, bulletproof at a listing presentation, you must understand that. And I have a lot of there's a lot of analogies that I can just go boom, 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 boom. And I'm going to, you've heard some of them, but you haven't heard them all. What? Okay. Any other comments on that? Do you find that okay? If you're not okay with that, then we're going to have to do some Lucy, we'll have to do some talking. So Ricky would say, and I'm going way back past before you were born on the Lucio Ball show. There was a note in the chat about the daily role play. It's right here. It's reconroleplay.com. It's 8:30 to 9 Central Time, 5 days a week during the week. Okay. Any other comments on the positioning?
Well, then if I may share, you know, I've been in real estate for 4 years. It took me three years to realize that open houses did not sell, honestly, the houses. So I started doing all my open houses since I realized, like, 45 minutes. I don't have no open house more than 45 minutes.
Oh, hey, Tanner, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I do have a quote script or open house conversation that I've had for the past 20 years or so, that the very best houses, the very best quote open houses, while we're having the open house conversation with the seller, I say something along the lines of, well, would you be surprised to find out the very best open houses don't exceed an hour? That meaning 12 to 1. Because if you're a buyer and you see an open house that's open for 3, 4, 5 hours, invariably, when are you going to show up? At the tail end.
The end.
Right, at the very, whereas if you've only got an hour to get to this place, it's scarcity. It creates demand. So that's a really good point. Not to say that 1 hour is going to sell it, but yeah, if we're going to do open houses, we're not sitting in the library the whole day.
Yeah. So open houses, don't get me wrong, open house is a great strategy. I just want you to make sure you use it, because it's going to be a way for you to get your name, have a branded open house sign, penetrate a particular neighborhood you want to farm. Open houses are amazing strategies for you to build your business, to meet buyers, to get listings, to knock on doors, invite neighbors to it. It is a great lever. However, I just want you to understand, and don't do it. And so my daughter was doing what we call a sympathy open house. And many times when you go and have a conversation, and we'll get into conversations here next, we'll do some role playing. And the seller's going to go ahead and lower the price, reposition. That's what we call it, right? Well, what are you going to do? And the agents right away, well, I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and hold an open house. Understand the efficiency of the market. And I won't bother you with that theory today, but I'll talk about that later. But Matt's talking about the timing of the open house. Now, if you're in a neighborhood that allows signs, and I'm in a deed restricted area, so we're very restricted on what signs we can put out, you should advertise the open house Saturday from 1 to 2. And that way you could pop into these different, you could do 2 or 3 or 4 in one day. My last point on open houses, move on. Does anybody know why traditionally open houses are on Saturday and Sunday? Anybody know?
Because buyers are out looking at.
They don't work.
Well,
they don't
yes.
work on weekends.
Always one.
Yes, but that's not the main reason. We're in Florida. I mean, half the people here are retired. They're not working at all.
Right.
Let me
Good
tell
point.
you why. All right, I'm going to go back to buggy whip days when I started 40 years ago, 30 years ago, right? The only way to let people know about a home when you had it listed was to advertise it in the Saturday or Sunday paper.
Yeah. Or Denny, you used to have to go down to the board of realtors too. Remember, you had to go down to the board of realtors with your book and hawk your listing. Otherwise, you had to put it in the paper.
Well, that was to let the real estate agents know, but if you wanted to
Right.
advertise, was an MLS book. I've got one in the attic. I'll show you one day. It was one picture, black and white.
That's
So-
thick.
So people put ads in the Saturday paper. We called it Home Seeker, or the Sunday paper. That was the only way to, now here's the thing. What's the best day of the week to have an open house? Any day that ends in Y. So get rid of the weekend. Like that's the best time, particularly if you're in a market that has a lot of vacationers or older folks. Any questions on that?
I think it's really great. What Denny's trying to convey here, guys, at least this is what I'm taking away, because it's never what you say, it's never what they say, it's what you hear. What I take away from this is Denny's not discouraging us from doing open houses. He doesn't want us to be the poor sap that's hosting an open house every day of the week and 6 times on Sunday, thinking that's what's going to sell it, because we've told our sellers it will.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the ability to tell the seller the truth about the pricing.
That is a difference between a bad doctor and a good doctor. Now I'm coming up with an analogy for you. Now you're going to go to the doctor that doesn't want to tell you the right medicine because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want to cause you any pain. So what they do is give you the wrong medicine over and over again. How do you like that doctor in the end?
Yeah. I just had this conversation with one of my accountability partners on this other iPad over here that you all can't see. And I was conflicted because I've been operating from a certain compass for the past 20 years. I don't want to delude sellers into thinking I can accomplish something that probably won't happen. And I gave him the analogy of, that's the equivalent of going to a doctor and you really need a triple bypass, like you need it or you're going to die. And because he doesn't want to hurt your feelings, he says, well, we can throw a stent in here and see if it works. And then in 6 months, guess what you're back to? Oh, you still need that triple bypass. Oh, and by the way, it's going to cost more money because we have more damage we have to clean up. They hurt you. They didn't help you.
If you lived.
Right, if you lived. Right, exactly. But so they're doing just fine because they made a little bit of money off it in the beginning. It's a little bit different in the real estate world because we don't make anything if we don't sell anything. Well, actually, we sell other houses, so we do fine. I've said that before. Your agent's doing just fine while your home's sitting overpriced because they'll sell other stuff. Doctor, the same way. If I don't give you the surgery, if I don't have the tough conversation and give you the surgery you need right now, we're going to have a worse surgery later, and you're not going to like it.
My last comment here, I'd like to do some role plays with you of how many people here have your inventory is growing in your market, and you would like to get better at having the honest conversation about pricing and positioning. Anybody want to work on that? You might already have listings that you have them wrong, and now you have to go back and have the conversation. Did you see any hands? I don't know. Who wants to work on that? You can work on something else if you'd rather. My last thing on this is my last comment on open house is that open houses are, I said this, my daughter said, no, don't say it that way, Dad. I said, open houses are a seller's Prozac. And she said, we really should call it a placebo. So my last comment really on this is this one more thing about timing, days on the market. Why are days on the market going up? Who wants to answer that?
If nobody has an answer, I will, but is that Carlos in the corner? Okay, all right, I'll rename you go ahead, say what you're going to say.
Why are days on the market going up? Yeah, don't answer yet, Matt.
Could be multiple.
Because the
reasons.
buyers aren't willing to pay what the listing price is.
You could be priced outside the market.
Okay.
Hoping for a lower interest rate probably too.
More inventory.
Because he's paying overprice.
Well, you guys are advanced.
Interest
Way
rate.
overpriced.
Okay, so when you see
Houses are
days on the
way
market,
overpriced.
and the days on the market, let's say during COVID, it might have been less than 20, right? And now in our area, it's probably 70. I've seen it as high as 100. Let's say it's 75 days on the market. So what is that? What happens? Day one, you list it. You got day 30, day 40, 50, then all of a sudden, what happens on average on day 70? What happens? What happens? Why
Position
does it take
conversation.
70 days to sell a house?
Price adjustment.
Okay, what else?
Motivation, desire.
Motivation
This isn't
on the
price
buyer or
low
seller.
enough
Well, that,
where
yeah,
the buyers want to buy it.
the motivation hasn't changed, Brad. It's because the seller's motives are most likely still the same. And the buyer's motives probably haven't changed, frankly, because in an area where inventory stacking, I'm less motivated as I see inventory stack because now I know I have more choice.
The buyer or the seller's motivation and gets more desperate. It's kind of where I'm going on that. But yeah,
The time on the market changes and goes up because of the time it takes to season the seller.
Yep.
Y'all got that? And it's complicated because this agent I was talking to today, a great agent, said, I got well-priced listings and they're just not selling. I don't know what to do. It's impossible to have well-priced listings and them not sell. One thing I want you to write down, I keep saying this will be the last thing. I want you to write this down and we'll expand on it at another time. There's several things that are true in real estate. Positioning is one of them. It won't sell until it's priced right. Here's the other. If you see your market slowing in the number of sales, most people think if there's fewer buyers. Write this down. There's never a shortage of buyers in any market. There's only a shortage of realistic sellers. Now, this may be textbook, this may be trigonometry to you, but when you understand these principles, I'm telling you, you will be a lion out there when you talk with buyers and sellers. It's like having a combination lock and the sellers keep putting in the wrong combination and they expect at some point in time it will open. There's another analogy. Sorry to cut you off, Matt. You were going to say something.
Well, I was just to say that the analogy I used this morning, grocery houses, grocery stores have open houses every single day, but traditionally what sells are the items that are on sale. So and guys, as far as the pricing is concerned, there's even the most skilled agent, long in the tooth, if you get the analogy, are going to be in conflict sometimes with how to advise a client. And I'm not saying I'm skilled, and I'm not saying that I have expertise beyond anybody else, but I do know that I've been through a lot of markets, and every single time we experience a downturn, there are certain properties where I'm like, oh man, is it the right thing to reposition? Or we'll be candid. Should I advise them to drop the price? Because that's what we're doing at the end of the day. One example, Nokomis, just north of Denny. Nokomis and Charlotte County are tanking. The average sales price is down by 12.6% in 1 year. So it's tanking across the board. The same condo that I just sold last year in 2024 sold in February of 2023 for $340. Same product. When I say product, same type of property, same unit. Sold for $340 in 2023. I listed ours at $299 and had to discuss repositioning until we got to $219. It finally sold at $219. And in February 23, it sold for $340. So there are points where you will feel conflict about what you're advising them. Just know the market will always respond. Always will respond.
Yeah. So let's role play some of that. And it will. I mean, if your seller cut their price in half, and they say there's no buyers, it's a bad time of year. That's what an inexperienced agent will always tell their seller. That's not right. If you cut the price in half, regardless of the election, the inauguration, holidays, or regardless of the market conditions or interest rate, cut the price in half and watch what happens.
Yep.
So who would like to have a conversation, be an agent or a buyer or seller? And let's let's dig in deep. Do I have a hand? Do I see a hand? I see that hand. No, I don't. Come on, let's go. You guys are all over the recon. Do I scare you? Carlos, you're up. Brad, you're up. All right, Brad,
Yeah,
you want to handle the seller?
you're the agent and anybody could be the agent, but I'm the seller. I have an interesting situation that happened the other day.
All right. Carlos, you're the agent. Go.
Sure thing.
All right,
Uh,
Carlos.
do you-
So yeah, we're talking about positioning of the home. I'm thinking I need to raise my price. I mean, everything else is going sky high. Why shouldn't I raise the price of my house?
I hear you,
Age
Brett.
high.
I hear you, Brett. And tell me, if you could please share with me, what exactly makes you think that you should raise your price?
Well, I mean, I'm losing money and everything else is going up. I mean, everything's high. Prices of gas, prices of food, prices of clothes. Maybe I should follow that direction. Things are selling there. People have to have it.
I hear you. Brett, really quick, could you bring me back to initially when we had the conversation? How important is it for you to relocate to another city as we had that discussion?
Keep your train of thought. I'm going to pause you because I got the model back there. Good job. I mean, at some point in time, remember motivation, the reason you want to use it, this is when you want to use it. When they're going the wrong direction, you've got to say, well, why are we doing this in the first place? So good job. And we don't have to spend a lot of time there. All right. So he's going to, I want you to go. Now you've discussed the motivation. What's next? And here's what I want you to do. If you're taking notes and they want to do something with a number in it, it's always, if they use a number, remember the airline. What's my airline saying?
Delta.
Right. You want to raise it to what? You've got to know, you want to raise it to what? Ask that question and keep going.
Okay, Brett. Please share with me, you wanted to raise it to what?
This is going to make you laugh, but this is serious. We're at 375. I think we should raise it to 400.
And would you please share with me, how do you come to that conclusion?
Just the things that are selling around the area. I mean, we've got 20 acres of land here with the greenhouse and, the property. I just feel like I can get more for the property. And then, actually my strategy is raise it to 400 and then after a while bring it back down and maybe people will notice the price drop and bring attention to it. That's a serious role. That's serious. Go ahead.
Good. Carlos?
Yeah, now, Brett, remind me, how important is it for you to move to the next city? As we had that initial conversation for you and the family to move to the next city.
Well, from our conversation, I'm sweating it. Kind of concerned about the bank not taking this property.
I hear you, Brett. And I'm stuck here, Danny.
Yeah, that's okay. No, it's okay. Who wants to pick up from there?
I want to just get some clarity. Did you say the bank take the property?
Yeah, the bank may take the property.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to clarify that for everybody.
I think I got it. Can I go back in?
Okay, well, I don't know. Hey, thanks for asking that because I missed it. I didn't hear that word. All right, Carlos.
Brett, what I think I'm hearing is that the bank is gonna take the entire house under their control. Is that what I'm hearing, Brett?
Yeah, that's what we talked about. I mean, that's where I'm at. I mean, I'm keeping up, but slowly falling short.
I hear you, Brett. Say, Brett, if that happens, how that's gonna affect you and all the conversation we had for you and the family to move to this next city. How is that gonna impact your entirety of goal and everything that he had planned initially?
Well, that's going to be a disaster.
Okay, what I think I'm hearing is like we
Don't
need
repeat
to.
it. Well, they don't have to keep doing that. It's a bad habit.
And Brett, I think just a quick reminder, we had initially the conversation. Would we agree to the price that we discussed? I told you the three outcomes. And do you remember those?
Yes, yeah, I remember the three outcomes, yes.
Okay. And in order for us to get things moving, where do you think we should position ourselves in today's market? As I've showed you all the homes that were sold earlier.
So I'm going to have you pause. Now you're dancing around it. You're on a cul-de-sac right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what is his concern?
Losing it to the bank.
Yeah.
How much time do you have?
Well, that would be a great question.
Well, how much are you falling behind a month, and how long do you want to continue bleeding?
So let's just go rapid fire. Brad has got a real situation. So that would be a real question. How long before the bank takes it back, Brad?
I think it's he's about 60 days out. 60 days behind.
Okay, who's got another
Well, they
question?
haven't threatened him yet. They haven't threatened him yet. Go ahead.
Before we land the plane, before Matt and I take over, who's got another question?
Oh, I was going to say, okay, I would get, what's the delta? How much are you losing? You said you were kind of losing a little bit, trying to hold the tide back every month. How much are you losing? And what happens if that amount gets worse 4 months from now?
Well, here's my point on that. I don't know that that's relevant because he's going to lose it in 60 days. So how much he's losing, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
How much he's losing each payment.
Yeah, sorry.
So how long has it been on the market at 375?
It's been on the market to be upfront about it. It's been on the market for about 6 months. I canceled it, and he wants me to relist it. But this is the conversation we're having.
All right. So other than a question, let me ask this. We talked about analogies. Who can come up with an analogy to help him see what he's seen, that help him see what he's not seeing? I'll start it off, and then Matt can come up with one. This is what I'm talking about. So it sounds like you're about underwater on this. Is that right, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm sweating. Yes, sir.
Have you ever seen somebody struggling in water?
I've been there. Yes, I have personally.
Yeah, I was a lifeguard, and so I have too. And so imagine if someone's out there struggling in water and have a hard time keeping their head above water. Would they need something that helps them float or something that helps them sink?
I guess the right answer is something to help them float.
So by adding $25,000 to your price, is that something that's going to give you buoyancy, or is it going to actually make you sink faster? That's the kind of thing, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, when we add numbers to anything, that typically means that it's getting heavier, right, Brad? So
That is correct.
How much weight do you want to add to this anchor?
Yeah.
So that, so I don't really necessarily have a direct analogy, just because my analogies come up on the fly as I'm listening. I'm not, you don't have to have a great deal of real estate, mortgage, etc. expertise to handle these guys. It's really simple stuff. Brad, when's the last time you made a payment? And I think you said 60 days ago, right?
Right.
Okay. Have you received a notice of default yet?
I've not received a notice.
Okay.
Just, got to get your payments caught up, but no notice of fault or threatening of foreclosure.
Okay. How much do you owe on this?
Right now I owe 325,000.
Okay.
And I want to have enough left over so that I can buy a smaller acreage and build a small house. So, that's what I'm hoping to get.
If you could only accomplish one thing from this sale, and I'll give you two options. If you could accomplish one thing, though, which would it be? Avoiding foreclosure or netting a certain amount of money? If you could only accomplish one, which would you prefer to do?
That's good. I would want to avoid foreclosure.
Okay. Are you committed? Are you willing to do what needs to happen to avoid foreclosure?
I'm becoming more committed. Yes.
Okay. Do we want to avoid foreclosure, or would we rather have 100% of nothing when they take it from us?
I like that one too. Let's avoid foreclosure.
Okay, wonderful.
Let's do it right. Got it.
Well, how did we get to a discussion on foreclosure? When it started, I want to raise my price from 375 to 4. I'll tell you what I want to do. How many people have had a seller and they maybe had it at 400,000 for a while, and they had some showings, no offers, and then they repositioned to 375, and there's crickets. Guess what they want to do next? They want to raise it back to 400, because that's where the fish were biting. Now there's no foreclosure here. That went away, and many times what they're saying will go away, but I've had a lot of sellers want to raise their price because when we lowered it, it was quieter. Who wants to handle that? I'll be the seller. Has anybody had that before?
I had it happen in 2017.
Well, it's not that's not a regular thing then. I've had it quite a bit
Yeah.
in my career, but if we don't have to waste our time with that, we'll do what you want to do. Who has an objection they would like to practice or
No,
hear?
I mean, I think honestly, Denny, I think somebody needs to jump in and play that. I don't want to play it because I didn't like playing it back then. But somebody needs to jump in and just play with that. Because you are going to see that. And here's why I'm saying that, guys. At least where Denny and I are. We can only speak based on anecdote. At least where Denny and I are. The market is declining, and whenever you're in a declining market, you're not pricing for where the market is or was. You're pricing for where it's going. Okay, so if we're at 400 and we're getting some activity, and that's not the right price, and we've been on the market 60 days, and we repositioned to 375, and we still get cricket. That just means that the market has adjusted that much more. So if you're in a declining market or transitioning market like Denny and I are in, you're going to see this. Just like the one I mentioned earlier, where we were listed at 299.9. One sold a year before for 340, and I ended up selling the stupid thing for 219. So and at points in that transaction, I guarantee you that she wanted to raise the price. Because I think we even talked about it. But I asked her a very simple question, and you guys can write this down if you want, or you can let it go in one ear out the other. What's most important to you? What we're listed for or what we sell for?
No takers?
I'll take it. Why not? All right, so let me understand, Denny. We're here at the table and you would like to raise your price from 375 to 400. Is that right?
We started 3 months ago at 400.
Mm-hmm.
We had 4 showings in the first month, and then we lowered it to 375, and since then we've had none. So I think we're too low.
Okay, you think we're too low. How long do you want to, how long would you like to sit at 400 if we raise it back up to 400?
I'm in no hurry. I don't want to have to give my house away. I just feel that that's where the fish were biting, so we can go back up there, right?
We can do whatever you want to do. You're the seller of the home, but our motivation, our goal is to get you moved back to Florida. So if that's what you want to try, we can try that. But I suggest that we only try it just for a few weeks. If we're not getting the showings, getting the activity, I think we should rediscuss your positioning.
Okay. And again, I'm not saying you wouldn't do that. There's another way that we'll talk about here in a second. But if you have a seller that wants to reprice the home, maybe, and again, it's not what you would recommend. My question is that any different than your conversation when you initially launched the home? They feel it should be back at 400. That's the reality. So my question then, Brad would be handling it kind of like, okay, if we go back up there, how long? What if the market says no to that? Number one. And there's one more thing I think you should point out. And Matt was talking about this. It's very germane to our market here. If you can demonstrate the market is actually slipping, if you can demonstrate that, what's the risk It's the same risk a seller would have if they were overpriced and their outcome one, low to no showings. What's the risk in a falling market, you guys?
Chasing the market down, slinky.
All right, there's a slinky analogy. How else could you share that? What's the risk? Tell me, what other way could you tell me so I can feel that pain?
Well, if we chase the market down, we may end up selling for a lower price than we're already discussing. We may be selling for lower than what we're discussing right now.
Tomorrow
Yes.
might be worse than today.
That's all right. Now I like that. Now you're thinking, so Brad, every day you wake up, your home is going to be worth less, right? One more thing. If you've got a stubborn seller where their home is out of position, your outcome one, even if they don't want to raise it, they're still outcome one. What's the worst thing that can happen?
They could get a listing damage, we call it.
What's that?
It's the stigmatization of
Days on the market?
how, right. It's like, what's wrong with this home that's not selling?
I'm gonna jump in and say when the buyers believe the market is getting worse and they know on a daily basis and they know that before a seller or an agent does.
Well, going back to days on the market, I have friends that are big proponents of days on the market mean everything. I'm not a big proponent of that because it could be priced at $1 million and it only is 400,000 for like 2 years. And if it's worth 400 after 2 years, you drop it to 350. You think a buyer cares about time on the market? Nope. So, but there is some truth to it. It could stale on the market. What's the worst thing that can happen to a stubborn seller in a falling market?
It doesn't sell.
They're
Worse.
losing the opportunity of that current. They could have sold it a lot higher if they wait. As it's going down, the price is going down along. So they're losing the time. As they're going down, they're losing money every day.
Yes, in my opinion, that's a very good way of saying it. It's worse than that. It's the same concept, and I'll take you out of your misery. This is the side effect of not taking the medicine that you should be taking. The worst thing that can happen, Brad, is that somebody in this area gets transferred or their motivation is very prompt. They have high motivation. And instead of listing it at 375 where we are, they listed at 350. The worst thing that can happen to a overpriced seller in a downward moving market is that someone else is going to leapfrog below them. Now a possibility of 375 is almost nil. So when so you want to get off a sinking ship as fast as you can. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I won't take time to explain. There is a reason why you can list something high and get a lot of showings, like a machine got 3 or 4 showings and then crickets. There's a reason for that. I'll do that at 2 o'clock or a few minutes after, but I want this to be your time to have a conversation. What would you like to work on?
In case anybody missed that, when Denny talked about leapfrogging, that's what I use as the analogy of helping sell your competition. So we talk about that in my listing appointment. Is when we're not positioned correctly from day one in a declining market, you are only helping sell your neighbor's property, and they thank you. But I'm guessing that's not why you want to go on the market. So that's what that is. You're selling your competition.
I believe that in any market, because I'm not in a declining market yet. We do have more inventory, and I'm finding that pricing at the top of where the market is not helping my sellers because other inventory is coming on, and they're gonna go just below to get the people through the door.
100%. Yep. Because they're using you, Denise, as when a skilled agent's looking at your home listed at 500, they're advising their client that they're taking a listing tonight at 8 p.m. They're advising them, well, this one's at 5. We should be right back here at 475. So
and they'll still get the 5. It's just a matter of having the buyers, the qualified buyers come in and compete for it and see the value in it.
Right. Yeah. Right. Because it's not possible to underprice a home. Well, Denny feels a little bit differently, I believe, but it's not possible to underprice a home because you're just going to create an auction type atmosphere.
Mhm.
If the home's worth $1 million, we're going to get $1 million almost regardless of where we position. But if we're not positioned correctly, if we're over, then we're going to help sell everybody else, or we're going to help everybody else position correctly when they want to go on the market.
Oh,
Just for clarity,
$100 bill.
Just for clarity there, Matt and everyone, I understand that's a philosophy. So I don't know why everyone just doesn't list it at $1 and see where it goes. I mean, in theory, if you have a concept that will hold true even on the extremes. So I don't disagree with that concept, that theory. I just know a lot of sellers are afraid to price low. So if you can get them to price low and get a bidding war, that may end up at top market value, just like if you started too high, assuming you're not in a declining market and you reposition, those points may meet. I can't prove it not to be true.
Yeah.
Denise, where are you?
I'm in North Jersey. I'm all the way at the top of the state.
Yeah, Northeast. I just went to a national conference and national speaker. The Northeast is probably the only area, or one of the only areas of the country that are not really feeling what we're feeling. So, but if you're pricing at the top and people are going below you and your inventory is growing, the temperature is changing. The change in inventory is a precursor to what's going to happen next. So anytime inventory is growing, it's going to put pressure either up or down, put down. Or the inventory shrinking, it's putting pressure on price up. That is the leading indicator you guys should watch.
Yep. And maybe one time, Denny, we can go into how to really decipher market statistics. Don't have to even touch on it today, but I call it inventory stacking. So when you see inventory up, so for sale homes up, sales down, and pending sales down, what's next? Days on market. Okay, and then when you see days on market go up, then invariably what you see start to go down when the other items are up is the average list price, because people are having to list for less to get their home sold. And then invariably, when you put all those other pieces together, then you see the sales price go down. The sales price is the last thing to go down. It's inventory up, sales down, days on market up, list price down. And then at the end, after like 6 to 12 months or a little bit more, it's sales price down.
Well, we still have a ratio of 2 sellers for every 1 buyer, but I am noticing that the percentage of sales price to list price, which was well over 100%, is now closer to 100%, and in some areas, it's just under 100%. So even though inventory is up and we have a shortage of inventory, we're still seeing a little bit of effects. It's just the fact that we're not in a declining market at this point because there's not enough of it. We're also going to see things change come, February, when the market starts to pick up for the next season.
So you're effectively experiencing what Denny and I experienced back in May-ish of 2022. Like the market had changed because interest rates started to go up. It flipped on a dime down here. The second they increased interest rates, inventory started to go up. But something wasn't right. The market wasn't declining, but something wasn't right. That's what you're describing. That's the early warning sign. The second you start to see inventory tick up, even if it's still a seller's market, you have to look at all of the other pieces. If inventory starts to go up and you see sales start to slide a little bit, that's something. And we have to be vigilant of that.
And in my world, when you said go up to 400,000, my first thing back to the seller would have been when I look at properties on the market, as do my clients, and they see a price price increase, they want to know what you did to the house. They want to know what you did to justify bringing the price up. And if you had lose at 400 and no offers, and then at 375 you had nothing, It has nothing to do with the fact that those people, you know, at 400 looked, they didn't make an offer. And when you went to 375, they still didn't make an offer.
Yes, okay, and if you'd like to role play that, well, there's new eyeballs out there, Denise, so I don't care about the people that looked at it and didn't buy it. I want the people out there that haven't seen it that want to buy it. So an analogy, again, that we talked about at the beginning, an analogy would be if a car dealer has cars and they're not moving on the lot, what do they typically do? Mark them up or mark them down?
Mark them down.
If you have a retail store and no one's buying your blazers, what do? Mark them up or mark them down? So you guys brought up something, I totally forgot what it is, but I'm willing to, if you want to stump me or Matt, you can. If you don't want to role play, be the buyer or seller. Throw a curveball at us.
Me.
Oh, come on.
I'll try this one scenario, Denny.
All right.
Okay, so you're a seller, you're selling, and the interest rate is going down as it is in Canada up north.
Okay.
And I brought you an offer to my seller, and it's a fair market value offer. And you're telling me that you don't want to accept this offer. You believe that you're getting more because the interest rate is going down. The house prices internally will go up.
You mean you have sellers like that in Canada?
I thought you guys were supposed to be nice up there.
Until that hockey puck is dropped.
Well, I mean, that's not unusual. I'm not, I'll make it quick. No, I'm not taking that offer. The interest rates are dropping. A better offer will come along. Go.
Well, I was hoping I'll be the seller and you be.
Oh, okay. You kept saying you're the seller. You're okay.
Oh,
so
sorry.
He wants you
Yes.
to be the Denny. He wants you to be the seller.
Yeah,
Or I mean, you to be the.
You
all right,
may.
fine. All right. So this, give me, how long has it been on the market?
3 months.
And what's it listed at?
599, 600.
What's the offer?
600.
Okay. All right. So, all right, good. Hey, so, who am I talking to? I don't see. Where are you?
Carlos.
Is it Carlos? All right, Carlos. Okay, upper left. So, Carlos, we have a full price offer. At one time, you were going to accept 600, and that's no longer acceptable to you. Carlos.
Yes. So Denny, you know what? The
Did I
interest
cut
rate is
out?
going down. I think the house price is going to go up. But we can get more than 600. We're not going to.
He said a number. What am I doing? Well, how much more do you want to ask for the house?
Maybe 615, 620. We can do 615. Can you get us 615, Denny?
Hi, we're gonna have an auction. He's auctioning on himself. So for clarity, what you're saying is tell this buyer to go away, and you want to put it back on the market at what number?
620.
He didn't sound very, okay, now you don't seem very confident in that response, so help me understand why you say interest rates are going down and you think you can get more money. Really quick here, because this would be something you would want to know, so I'm going to model it. What are you doing when you're selling your house? What's next for you?
We're gonna downsize.
So you're going to buy something else, right?
Yeah.
Role play is over at that point. So you want to sell high and buy high. Next, what if that's not the case? What if 600? What would you do? Where's the greater pain? So you've got your number here. Imagine you're in the casino. Here's the analogy. And you basically you said, I'm walking in there with $500. If I hit 1,000, I'm walk home. I'm walking out. You're at the 1,000. Should you walk out or should you roll the dice one more time? Are you willing to roll the dice? So what if the next best offer is 590 and you never get the 6 again? Now, again, I'll let Matt play a little bit too, but there's a couple of techniques here. You got to be willing to ask the direct question. And here's the other thing. Remember, silence is a powerful tool. When you ask them a tough question, shut up. Matt, any comment on that? You take it a different direction.
First person that talks loses. Yeah, I've just asked, I would ask them, well, what do you want to put it back on for? And I mean, you already went there. The only thing that I would take I would go more directly to, let's play that out. Let's say that we do that. What's your plan when we get no offers? Carlos? What's your plan when we don't get offers, or if we don't?
We're gonna wait, Matt.
How long can you wait?
Maybe a few more months.
What will
The
it do
spring
for your-
market is coming, and in the spring, we know the house prices are gonna go up.
They could. Could it be possible that they don't? How certain are you? How certain are you that they're going to?
Well, they announced the interest rate is going down, and that's gonna change the prices.
Right. That's all well and good. I understand what they announced. Are you willing to make a $600,000 bet on that right now?
No, I can't do that.
Okay, great. So would you like to accept this offer, or should we tell them to pound sand?
And technically, he's buying his house back at 600 grand.
Yeah.
So we're at the top of the hour. We don't have to go yet necessarily. If anything else you want to add, if you want me to tell you, I want to take a couple of minutes. There is a reason why every now and then you may take a listing and you'll get a flurry of activity, and after that it's crickets. If you want to know why, I'll take a minute. I'll take a minute now and tell you. What happens is, in a discretionary market where people aren't being transferred, they don't have to worry about getting their kids to school. There's no hurry, there's no fire, right? So they will watch over a market. They will hover over the market. They'll be watching. They'll set up their little lookups and they'll have their little drips come in. And what'll happen is there will be a buildup of buyers in a particular price range. And so, I mean, over a period of time, they'll be waiting for the right house. There may be 3 or 4 buyers looking for something like that. And so when that house comes on the market, particularly when inventories have been a little bit tight, you might have those 3 or 4 buyers think, oh, that might be interesting. They'll swoop in and look at it. And after that, there's no backlog of buyers that have been pulled up. It's kind of like a little drip of a sink. Sooner or later, the drip will fill the glass. But once those buyers look and that rush of activity is over with, there's no more backlog of buyers. And it's a very telling sign, because that means those people have been waiting for maybe weeks or months for that type of home in that particular location, and they all said no. In other words, they all tried the combination of the lock and it never opened. It's clear that it's not positioned right, or that one of those buyers would have bought it. That's kind of what happens when you have a flurry of activity and then all of a sudden it goes quiet, even if you don't change the price. They'll wonder, well, why should I change the price? Because we had 4 people look at it the first week and now it's been quiet. That's why. Any questions or comments on that? Boy, if you said 10 words today, that'd be great.
Yeah, I just had this in East Sarasota, Denny. The exact same scenario. It's East Sarasota, east of the interstate, highly desirable area. Put a house on the market, perceivably a quote great price. Flurry of activity right out of the gate. All said no, and then we repositioned. Got a little bit more activity, all said no, but what I like to say to that is, you have, as Denny mentioned, you have people that lord over, they watch a specific area. And when you have in a market like we have, buyers have one thing on their side, and that's patience. Because they have more choices. So if they don't see something that blows their wig off, they'll just keep looking. So we can't allow that to be the litmus test of where we need to stay positioned on a home. So just because we had some showings, if we didn't get offers, you have 100% of nothing. So it's and then in this situation, long story long, they ended up having to reposition below an offer that they got. We got an offer before, but it was an unreasonable person, just not somebody you want to work with at all. They had to position below that, and then they got multiple offers. But we couldn't use the showings that we were getting as the tell that we were priced correctly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you might get a false positive right off the bat, so don't get too excited because it could be that.
Right.
Awesome. Unless you have something else to add. Gregory, I see you're here. Where'd you go? Are you still there? Maybe not. I sent you, I trust you got the email. If you want to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, dennysmastery.com, I'll send you all the slides I send. I'll send you copies of the PDFs that you can use, you can study, you can add them to your presentation, whatever you'd like to do. I have the people who have won the free coaching call in a half hour, I think 2:30. You know who you are, so I'll see you on that link that I sent you. Other than that, we'll see you for Recon on Monday, and we'll have our master call again next week, Friday. So,
Hey, Denny, real quick, another team member of mine was trying to get on Mastery, but they were using my link and they couldn't get in. So is there a way to get them into Mastery? Is there a link that we need to send them, a join we need to send them, or?
use this right now until I correct that link. Use that QR code.
Okay.
Can you grab that?
Yeah. Hang on tight. Come on, baby.
And actually, everybody that needs this, grab that so that we don't all show up as Sherry.
Got it.
Thank
All right,
you.
guys. Thanks for being on. Thanks, Denise, for your input. Keep that market rolling in New Jersey.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Matt, everyone.
Hey, thank
Bye,
you
guys.
guys. Have an amazing
Thank you. Have a great weekend.